Hey, it's me, Nalthazar, and welcome to another video. You're going to see that there's definitely something a little bit different, right? I mean, you can see me, yeah? So I had a goal on my Patreon, so once I got to 10 patrons, I would get a webcam, and I would incorporate it in my videos. But my patrons were much more generous than I expected, and so I was able to reach the goal that I needed to be able to get the webcam a lot sooner than I expected. So I got the webcam, and so I'm interested in knowing what you guys think of having, live recording feed going with everything. As the video goes, this is going to be a state of the game address where I'm going to go over what are some of my thoughts on the state of the game, what are some things I like, where are some areas that I think the game needs some changes, some tweaks. And then while I go over that, you're going to see some footage from the forums. I'm going to be going over some of Oktagon's responses to things, and you'll also get to see the last match that I played to go perfect in this past weekend's Ravnica at War. So in the event that you're curious, like how does an elite player actually play the nodes when they're just focusing on that? There's no commentary with it or anything. Like I was just playing seriously, trying to get that last perfect node done. So before I get into everything, I have just a few basic announcements. So I mentioned the thing about the Patreon. I need to update what my goal is going to be there. But I am adding a raffle to my Patreon. So for all of my patrons, there's going to be, at the end of every month, I'm going to be holding a raffle. And whoever wins the raffle, the people who can enter the raffle are just patrons, but I'll be joining your coalition for an event at the end of the month. And so I'll chat with all the members. I can help with deck making. But by and large, I'll just be a part of your community, and I'll get to play with you guys, interact with you guys, etc. So it's going to be pretty exciting, I think. I've been giving it a little test run. I've been playing with a few different coalitions just for giggles, just to chat with people, see how I felt about it, that kind of thing. And I really enjoyed it. So thank you guys so much for supporting me. And so this is just another way that I'm going to be trying to give back to you. So if you're wondering how to get access to that, my Patreon link is in the description. So go ahead and check that out. Second thing, I've also got a Discord. I've mentioned it a few times, but like 20 some odd people have joined the Discord, and it's been really cool to chat with everyone. Like really, really cool. I'm really enjoying it. So if you haven't joined my Discord yet, you don't need to be like a top tier player. You don't need to be a new player. Like literally everyone is welcome. We found homes for 3 people already who didn't have coalitions. But it's just a chance for us to chat about the game, chat about events, chat about other games, all that kind of stuff. So please come and join. Would love to see you all. Once again, link to join is in the description to this video. So let's really quickly highlight what are the 4 things that I want to see changes with, and then I'm just going to go into what are the things that I like. I've got sort of a little list. So the first thing that I want to see changed is going to be PvP Coalition event rewards. That structure desperately needs a change. The second thing is going to be an overhaul of the new player experience. I would love to see the game be more engaging for new players, get a little bit more retention going from those new players, and ideally get more people actually joining the game and playing. So the more people playing the game, the more fun it is. So would love to see some more people. And I think that there are some simple tweaks that can be done within the system that will be able to accomplish that. The next one is going to be, I think, probably one of my more contentious ones, and that's going to be Planeswalker Restrictions. So I'd actually like to see Planeswalker Restrictions enter events, just because I feel like otherwise the game gets a little bit stagnant with what choices people are making for what Planeswalkers to use. And then, I guess I have 5 things, don't I? I'm good at counting, and I teach math too. Anyways, Legacy PvP events. I'd like to see some tweaks to Legacy PvP events and the cards that you're allowed to use. I'll get into that. And then finally is going to be VIP. So there's like a very small tweak that I'd like to see to the VIP system. So let's just go ahead and jump straight into this. So first thing, what are the things that I really like, right? So just in the past few months, or really, I mean, since Oktagon took over and then some changes they've been making, I really like how they've incorporated a lot of new daily events into the game. Things like originally Across Ixalan, and then Rising Tensions, and then a lot of the different PvE events like Fables of Eldraine, those types of events. They're very rewarding. They have a very reasonable time commitment. Like, it's something that you could do while sitting on the John or something like that. But it's something that is reasonable to expect that a player could do in a day, and it's like I said, it's rewarding. And so I really like that they have added those types of events. Before, I felt like the whole game really centered around the weekends. So you could play during the week. There were some events, and you could get crystals from them. You could do Training Grounds. You could do the predecessor to Training Grounds that I'm now... I don't think it was called Battlegrounds. Maybe it was. I'm mysteriously forgetting the name. I don't know. Shame on me. But, I mean, it's just... The game is a much more complete game now. And I really appreciate that. I really like that. I'm a little bit... I'm eager to see what it is that Oktagon does to continue the whole Rising Tensions thing when Zendikar comes out. We've got a new standard shift coming, and with that new standard shift, all of the Ravnica sets are going to become Legacy. And if you haven't noticed from other events, as events go into Legacy that have special card rewards, those cards get added to the loot pool for packs, and they get removed as rewards from the events. So I would love to see an update where we get a new sequence of events, kind of like Rising Tensions, definitely that have some cards attached to them that are, good for really anyone, but especially for new players. I think it's really important. I mean, if you take a look at some of the event rewards right now from the Rising Tensions, you've got cards like Ulash, the Hate Seed, which is an amazing card. Court of Calling, which is still good even after the nerf, although pre-nerf it was just like an auto ad for any new player. And then, even some other cards like I found in my new start account. Isperia is actually a pretty decent card. So just, it would be nice to see a new cycle of cards and events that will still be rewarding, still give us a reason to log in and play every day. And yeah, so I really like that though. I don't want to get too far off track, but I really like that they added that. That's a great bonus for the game. I like all the content that we've been getting lately. Maybe you've noticed, but there's been a whole bunch of new content that's been introduced in Puzzle Quest lately. And I really like that. It's been really fresh having the different legacy sets introduced and those events. So Seize the Day along with Odyssey and Torment, that kind of stuff. So that's really cool. I really like that. And so now that I've gone over that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll on over to the page with all of the different notes from the most recent the question and answer, right? So let's just roll over to that question and answer page. Alrighty, so as I imagine some of you guys would probably agree with this, I'm maybe one of the more like the biggest advocates for the game, for Oktagon. I really like a lot of the things they've done. But yeah, here's where we go into some things where I think we really need to see some changes. So the PvP Coalition event rewards. This is specifically for events like Ravnica at War. So if you look at, if you read this from the Q&A back in May, they took 3 questions, put them all together, but really it boils down to in PvP events, when you've got a reward structure where first place is getting 5 mana jewels, some runes, and 3 booster packs, that it just doesn't feel rewarding. And the rewards for those events are tied in with the coalition rewards. So really, anything that you get is going to be from your coalition reward for the most part. And that coalition reward is nice, but it's nice for the top 10 teams, right? So that's for the top 200 players in the game, which means that the majority of the game is going to be getting the short end of the stick. And so there really needs to be more of an incentive for individual play on top of the incentive for coalition play. The incentive for coalition play is fantastic. We need that. We've got a great wealth of daily activities, but like it's gotten to the point where I don't play most of the weekend coalition events. Like honestly, I played Ravnica at War the first time it came out, and then for each of the colors, right? Actually, I didn't even play black. I'll be outright, I'll say it. I played green, I played blue, I played red, I played white, and then black came out, and I was like, there's no point, I'm not doing this. And I didn't actually play black until this weekend. This weekend was the first time I played black for Ravnica at War. And I haven't played any of the other ones since either. And I'm in a top 10 coalition, and I know that sucks definitely for a lot of my coalition mates. I mean, I played this weekend. I got a perfect score. You'll see that in the video feed in a little bit. But it's just that like there's no incentive to play it. I mean, it takes so long to play those nodes, especially because for Ravnica at War, they're really clunky objectives. And so just playing all of that and getting 5 jewels out of it is like, why? You know? So especially for someone who has all of the cards and people who are willing to put money into the game, the VIPs, and a lot of the whales, they're gonna get all the cards pretty quickly because they're putting money into the game. And if they're putting money into the game and they've got no reason to play events, then they're losing their reason to put money into the game. And then on top of that, a lot of the top coalitions have seen a hit in player involvement since the Ravnica at War reward structure came into being. I'm pretty sure it came in during War of the Spark. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that the 5 jewel 3-pack and runes as rewards for PvP coalition came in then. And I'm not saying that it doesn't need to be like Hour of Devastation. I think that's the one where you get 300 jewels for getting first place. It doesn't need to be that extreme, right? It could be something much, much lesser than that. I actually think that I think it was 2 years ago, it was during that Hibernum Oktagon shift, we were getting Hour of Devastation every single weekend for the month of December, and then I think we got it for a while in January. And I was like, wow, this is going to spoil the players. Like, we're getting this so often. Once we start seeing the regular events that come on the weekends, people are going to be like, why am I going to play this? This isn't right. And that didn't really happen too much, at least not that I noticed. But now that we see this current reward structure, I'm seeing it a lot. So I'm seeing a lot of players in top 10 coalitions just not playing. Like, they just don't play on the weekends. And so as a result of that, they're losing the coalition element of the game. And the coalition element of the game is really one of the driving factors that keeps people hooked. It keeps them addicted. It makes them want to keep playing. Because like when you get a new card, like that's really cool. But when you get to share it with your coalition mates, and then you get to talk about deck building, and you get to see some of the things they've done, and you get to show off some of the things, like you get this feeling, right? You get this feeling of camaraderie. You get this like extra bonus feeling of excitement. You get to share it with other people who care, and so that's a really nice feeling. And events like these and rewards like these completely take away from that because they make it so that people have less of a reason to play with their coalition. Like the only reason why a lot of people that I know are still playing with their coalitions for events like these is just because they feel some obligation or they like the people in their group, so they're doing it for them. But yeah, so this is a really simple tweak, honestly. Like, make it so that the rewards are something like even 75 jewels and 100 crystals at rank 1 in addition to the other things, right? And for like rank 1 to 5 bracket. And then, work it on down. I actually think that, this is also addressing the brackets. I think that brackets need to change. I think that it's got to stop being perfect score or nothing. There are just so many perfect scores. I mean, it's just one of my coalition mates a few weeks ago posted they lost 1 point. They lost one objective, and they vaulted outside of the top 250. So they went from rank 1 to outside the top 250 because there were that many perfect scores in the 3,000 person bracket in Platinum. And so with a lot of easier objectives, players are finding that there's more people getting perfects. And so, it's just that, let's say that in your very first match, you wind up losing an objective point, then from that point on, it's like, oh gosh, like what's the point in playing, you know? So I think there needs to be more of a drive to play in the events, and so I'd love to see brackets. So like a perfect score should be, or even like perfect score and -1 objective. But I'm a little bit biased. I think perfect score should be the number 1 rank. So if you get perfect score, you just automatically get whatever the top reward is. I think that then you lose X number of objective points. Then, like X number of points lost is going to be bracket 2 for rewards. Furthermore, a number of points lost is going to be bracket 3. Further is going to be bracket 4. And then something like less than X number of points, you're just in bracket 5, right? So add brackets instead of rankings, just because like 6 to 25 just doesn't exist in a lot of events. There's just no way to get 6 through 25, or even 26 through 50, and even in some events 51 through 100. Like that doesn't even exist. Or in the example I gave, the 101 to 250 just didn't exist. So there definitely needs to be a little tweak to that. They mentioned, as you can see here, that they're looking into that, but this was back in May. It's July now. I know that it's important to give them a little bit of time, but this is a critical one. This is a critical change that needs to happen to the game, and I think that to me personally, I think that this is change number 1. This is priority number 1. So priority number 2, and as we get into that, you guys get to see a feed of my last match. So what is it like as a high-end player to be playing for Perfect? So let's just put that going while I'm chatting in the background. Alrighty, so the next piece is the new player experience. So I made a new account. I titled the whole project A New Start. And in that A New Start account, I got to re-experience what it's like to be a new player. I made it as a free-to-play account, so I didn't put any money into it. I just wanted to know, what is the game like for a new person who doesn't put any money into it? Like, what is that raw experience like? And the first thing that popped out to me was the matchmaking. So after playing through the story and getting access to PvP, I was really excited for PvP. And I go into my first matches in PvP, and boom, I'm up against a level 60. And I was like, what? I'm level 1. Like, what? And I found that in about 50% of my matches, it was actually just under 50%, but in about 50% of my matches, with me running my level 1 through 10 Origins Planeswalkers, I was being matched up against level 40 to level 60 Planeswalkers, and there was just no chance, right? So if you're playing like a level 1 Chandra and you're up against a level 60 Chandra, like just the loyalty abilities of level 60 Chandra are going to kill you. You have no chance to take out her health in the time that it takes for her to chunk you out with even just pure loyalty. So I would love to see an update to the matchmaking system, just where the levels are a little bit closer together. I know there aren't as many new players in the game right now, and so as a result of us not having as many new players, it makes it so that, if you join an event and you join with a level 1, and there's only one other person in the event and they have a level 60, you're going to get paired up against that level 60. But once I got my Planeswalkers to like level 20s, right, in the mid 20s, I started matching up against other Planeswalkers in the mid 20s and 30s, which showed me that. And then even in the same event, right? So in the exact same event, I would go into one node with a level 1 and the next node with a level 26. And so my level 1 was getting matched against like level 40s, 50s, 60s, and my level 26 was getting matched against like level 26, 28, 30. I would much rather, as a level 1, be matched up against those lower level players, right, than the level 60s, 40s, 50s, 60s. So there's got to be something to do in there. Like, even if they just took like decks that people used in previous iterations of an event, so that you could actually, play against a more similar leveled Planeswalker. If I wasn't someone who knew how to play the game, if I wasn't a seasoned veteran, if I wasn't someone who was doing this as a challenge, that would have been it for me right there. Like, if I played a game and I was like, I'm going to be losing like half of my matches just because of matchmaking, there's just not even a chance, then that would be the end for me. So that desperately needs to change for new players. Second one, the Origins Planeswalkers. I really like the Origins Planeswalkers, but they need a tweak. They need it desperately. We've gotten a new survey recently, And in the survey, it goes over like what are some planeswalkers that you guys would like to see some changes to. And I think that the most important change is the Origins Walkers. And I think there's actually a few changes that need to happen to them. The first one is that the Origins Planeswalkers, please, once again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I want to say at level 60 they have +5, right? So that's their net mana bonus is +5. Whereas you're getting monocolored walkers now at +9, right? So if you look at the +4, +3, +2, +1, and then -2, I think it is, right? You've got +4, 3, and 1. I guess that one is +8, or maybe it's -1, right? So it's still +9. But you got like Jace Unraveler, you got that group, Jaya, +9, +9. And so we're seeing a lot of our monocolored walkers at +9 right now, +8, +9. I'd like to see the Origins walkers have their like summative mana boost be +7. So increase their primary bonus to +4, right? So Gideon would get +4 to white, Liliana would get +4 to black, Nissa would get +4 to green, so on and so forth. And then have their secondary color, give them a secondary color at +2, and then a third color at +1, and then neutral, right? So that would make the Planeswalkers a lot more playable than they are right now. And that would definitely enhance the new player experience. I also think that the abilities for those walkers should just get very minor tweaks, very, very, very minor, right? Along with their health. Their health should be 100+ each. I mean, all of our Planeswalkers right now are getting 100+ health, especially the monocolored walkers. Like, you're getting monocolored walkers with like 117 health, 118 health. So the Origins walkers should at least be at 100 health each. You know, like Chandra, Nissa, Liliana. I mean, they're Jace. Oh gosh, like where to even begin with Jace? Jace needs a complete overhaul. That's a totally different story entirely. That Planeswalker is an atrocity. But if those got updated just so that they were, you know, at least like playable, like they were decent, not top tier. I'm not saying that they need to be like Koth or they need to be like Nissa Worldwaker or something like that. But you know, like if they were just a little bit more playable. That would definitely enhance the new player experience because let's face it, getting new planeswalkers in this game as a new player is really tough. Like a monocolored walker is 295 crystals. It takes a while to get 295 crystals in bronze, trust me. And then if you want to get a dual colored walker, that's 650 crystals. A tricolored walker, that's 850 crystals. That's crazy expensive. So, I mean, I think that the cost system is fine. But the starting walkers should really be your starting walkers. They should be walkers that you start with and you can play through the game with, and then you'll ultimately want to upgrade. My next thing about the Origins Planeswalkers is I think that they should just automatically unlock as you play the game. So as you're playing the game, I think that the Origins Planeswalkers should just be automatically unlocked. You play a few matches in the story. You start out with Nissa, right? So you play a few matches, boom, it unlocks Gideon. You play a few more matches, boom, it unlocks Chandra. You play a few matches, boom, it unlocks Jace. You play a few matches, boom, it unlocks Liliana. And then you've got access to all 5 walkers. And I know that as you play, there's different objectives that you can complete. And with those objectives, you get crystals. But at least as a new player, it's really hard to determine, like, should I get planeswalkers? Should I get new packs? And so having just those be automatically unlocked would make this game a lot more accessible for newer players. While I'm on the new players train, also, you know, when you first start the game, there's a bundle. It's like $40. It gives you 2 Origins premium packs. Just have that bundle be basically free for a new player. Not basically, have it be free. Maybe even it's 1 premium pack. Like you start the game, boom, there's a gift in your inbox. You've got an Origins premium pack. But just give them a few cards, or maybe they need to play a few matches, right? If you play through the first batch of story missions, you get a pack that's got like a guaranteed orbs of warding and some other things. Give a premium pack, you know, like just give new players a little bit more to work with, because once they have stuff to work with, that's going to get them into the game more. And if they're more in the game, they're likely to spend money on the game too. That's going to propagate it. That's going to keep it going. That's a good thing. You're going to see that the game footage has rolled over to just some other game footage that I'm just going to have rolling in the background for you guys to watch for your own pleasant entertainment. So the last thing for the overhaul of the new player experience, is that I think that the rewards outside of Platinum desperately need to be changed. So there's no really good reason for Bronze and Silver to be getting fewer runes and fewer mana crystals than Platinum. I actually think that they can probably go ahead and take out mana jewels from Bronze and Silver, make them something that you get starting in Gold. Because, I mean, getting non-dupe cards is cool and stuff, but if you don't have any mythics, like, getting a non-dupe mythic really doesn't mean anything. So by the time you start getting to the point where you're able to earn the resource to get those non-dupe cards, it'd be nice if you already had a few that you're like, oh man, it's really exciting. Like, when you first get Avaricious Dragon, or you get Thopter Spy Network or something, it's like, oh my gosh, this card is amazing, right? So it'd be really nice to see just, you know, a little bit of a tweak there. So make it so that the event rewards for mana runes are all the same in Bronze and Silver as they are in Platinum, right? And in Gold too. Like, why change it? The mana crystals should be the same to me in Bronze and Silver and Gold as they are in Platinum. It's the mana jewels that really, to me, should be the lead changer there. Because the more that you play, you're just going to automatically jump up in the ranks. But this is really all about making the game just a little bit more accessible to newer players, right? So with more mana jewels at their disposal, they're going to be able to get more Planeswalkers. They're going to be able to get more packs. They're going to be able to pick up the items in Fiblethip. I should have mentioned Fiblethip, by the way, in things that I love. Like the introduction of Fiblethip with those alternate art cards, like especially with the mythics, it gives players another way to chase specific cards, get a guaranteed non-duplicate. And so that's great. Like that's fantastic for newer players, and that's fantastic even for experienced players. You know, like if you've had bad luck with Ikoria this block, right? You know that there's going to be a whole bunch of alternate art Ikoria cards that are going to be entering Fiblethip's vault soon. And then once they enter the vault, you're going to have a chance to pick up a bunch of the cards that maybe you didn't get to pick up in opening your packs. So that's a pretty big deal. That's a pretty great change. And so just more things to make the newer player experience better is going to make it so that more newer players, I think, would join the game and then stay playing the game. And then, you know, like if they were like, oh, you know, like I'm really enjoying this game, so if I were to put $4 into this game and buy Drowner of Hope, like, okay, cool. You know what? Drowner of Hope is an amazing card. I'm going to put another $4 into the game. I'm going to buy Olivia. She looks crazy. Oh, wow, she is. She's insane. She's so good. Wow, you know what? Hour of Devastation looks pretty awesome too, and that's also $4. Okay, yes, okay, thank you. So, you know, it's just, I think it would build more goodwill with newer players. I think they'd be more likely to spend money. I think they'd be more likely to play it for longer. And so I just think that's all around a big win-win for the game. Now, this is where I'm going to move into a little bit like contentious grounds. So this is where maybe some of you guys won't agree with me, and if you don't, please let me know. Like, I know that the studio watches a lot of my videos, and so the studio being Oktagon, and so I would love this to be an additional place for them to see your guys' feedback to things. But Planeswalker restrictions. So I think that in events that have restriction for sets, that the Planeswalkers that you can use should also be restricted to those sets that you're allowed to use in the event. Which means that you'll always be able to use the Origins Walkers, and as I mentioned in the overhaul of the new player experience, if those get an update anyways and are more playable, then that would be less of a painful thing. But I don't know, if you're like me, you probably are finding yourself using Sarkhan the Unbroken, you're using Karn, you're using Teferi, you're using Garruk. I mean, you're using the same walkers over and over for every event. You might be changing up the cards that you're using because of objectives, but like realistically speaking, you're probably running the exact same Planeswalkers over and over and over again. And I think it's really fresh to have the new walkers. So like I get a lot of the new walkers from Oktagon so that I can make videos on them. And so it kind of forces me in a way, although I love it. Don't misunderstand that. I love it. But it forces me to play with all the new walkers. And it keeps the game really fresh for me. I really like it. Like, we used to have events like Hour of Devastation that required specific Planeswalkers. Like, you had to use Elspeth for a node. You had to use Samut. You had to use Bolas. I'm not saying required Planeswalkers for nodes. I'm just saying narrow down the Planeswalkers that we're allowed to use in events, specifically to the sets that are involved. Just to add a little bit of flavor. Not all events necessarily, mind you, but just the events that have specific set requirements, right? And so for Standard, you might say, but like, well, Standard has specific set requirements. That means you can only play those in Legacy. And I'm honestly kind of okay with that. I'm kind of okay with that. Like maybe if there was like maybe a little bit more of a go between, like maybe only in coalition events, not in daily events, right? But I just think it would be cool to see a little bit more of that. Legacy PvP events. That's number 4. I would like to see like set restrictions for Legacy events. I know I'm going into the restrictions, and you guys might be like, "Oh, come on! You say you should restrict Planeswalkers. Now you're saying that they should restrict sets in Legacy events." But you got to come on, like you got to think about it. We have. I don't know offhand the number of Planeswalkers we have, but it's like in the 50 to 80 range. There are so many Planeswalkers in this game. And like realistically, how many of them are you using? Right? When a new Planeswalker comes out, like how many of you guys are like, oh yeah, I need to get my hands on this Planeswalker. If you're not a collector, right? So they're collectors who they're completionists. They want everything. But if you're not one of those people, new Planeswalker comes out, you really don't have a reason to get it, right? I mean, unless it's going to take over as a top tier Planeswalker, there's really not a big reason to get it. So with the set restrictions, it's just Legacy is kind of a crud shoot. You play a Legacy PvP event, and at least in Platinum, I know I'm not speaking for people in the lower ranks, but I think that there's a large group of people who will feel this with me. But you're playing against green conversion decks. You're playing against Omniscience, Combustion, Gear Hulk decks. You're playing against Deploy the Gatewatch decks. You're playing against some kind of Beacon Bolt deck, but that's probably going to be green conversion, and that's everything, right? That's like every single deck you're playing. There's really not a lot of variation. You're playing against one version of one of those types of things, and so it would be kind of nice, honestly, if we had fewer cards to build with in Legacy rather than everything. There's just so many cards, and there's so many sets being brought out. It forces more deck building. It makes it so that I'm not trying to make it so the events are more of a slog. That's not what I'm saying. It's just not like this combo fest where it's like, who's going to combo off first, right? I mean, that's maybe it's just me that's like, that's not fun, but like I hate that I have to put Narset's Vanguard in basically like every single deck, or Ashiok's Vanguard if I see that they're playing white, or the one that makes it so they can't fetch cards, right? Just stuff like that, or Lavinia index, like if they're playing blue to counter like Blue Sun Zenith and Omniscience, stuff like that. So I'd love to see that, just because I think it would make Legacy events a lot more exciting. Just because right now I see a Legacy event, I'm like, no, thank you. I don't want any part of that. Like I'll play Seize the Day, I like that actually. But like that's restricted. The last thing that I'm going to touch on, I know this has been going for a little bit. It's just, this was kind of intended to be a bit of a longer video. Pardon me. It is the VIP experience. I think that I mentioned this before, and now that it's been a little bit, like the most controversial video I've made was back when, like, I think it was 4.1 came out. Or I think it was 4.1, it might have been 4.0, but when they changed the VIP, right? When they were announcing, hey guys, we're going to change VIP packs so that they will, you aren't just going to be able to hoard them before a set comes out, and then day one, boom, you open all your VIP packs and you've got the full set. I think I'm still on the train that I think that that's a good change for the game. Ikoria was definitely a lot more exciting for me as a VIP subscriber, just because everything was sort of parceled out. Like, it was really exciting to get my VIP packs every week, which meant that it was really exciting to play the game every week, which also meant that I got to experiment with all the cards. Instead of me just looking to play like the very best, like 3 to 5 cards, I wound up playing with so many cards. I mean, look at how many videos I've got up on Ikoria cards. A lot of that is in part thanks to Ikoria being the most fun set that's come out since I've started playing. But, it's also in part that the cards, I got them spread out, right? So I had to experiment with different things, and experimenting with different things, I thought that was pretty fun. I thought that was pretty cool. So I do think that that's a good change, but But, right, once you've got everything, there's no reason to keep your VIP subscription, right? Those higher incentive VIP rewards are like mana runes, or I mean, I guess you can craft masterpieces, but they're super expensive. And honestly, for newer players, you're better off just crafting all the commons and uncommons because they're super cheap, and then use your VIP packs to try getting all the rares, mythics, masterpieces, right? And so I'd like to see, and this is one that I don't have a concrete answer for. I know when I make a video like this, I want to be able to have answers, but just like something to make VIP worth it once players have completed their collections. Because as it stands, like let's say that you complete your collection in the first month of a set, you might go, 1, 2, 3 months and not pick up VIP again. And that's really not very good for the game. Like, I think that the retention, like getting player retention by parceling things out a little bit more is important. Just from, like this is ultimately a game of collectors, right? I mean, you're collecting things, you're collecting cards, so you want to have those cards. But, I mean, that being said, there should be something more to make you want to keep that VIP subscription. I'm not saying to lessen what we get from VIP. That would be a disaster. Please don't do that. But just something for like once a player has opened everything, right? Once they've gotten all the available cards in the pack, have something else that could be available for the players to get. So that's everything I have on my checklist. That's everything I wanted to go over with you guys. Let me know what your thoughts are on the state of the game. What are some things that you guys really like, and what are some things that you guys would like to see changed? Please don't turn the comment section into the forums, which is just like taking out your aluminum bat and bashing the entirety of the game. That's not what I'm going at here. I'm trying to give constructive feedback for things that I'd like to see changes in. I was kind of inspired to do this because of the survey. They came out with the survey, and so I was like, you know what? I want to make my voice heard, and I'm interested in hearing what other people are saying, because I don't know what you guys are saying apart from like what's going on in the forums and stuff like that. So thank you guys for watching very much. I appreciate you all, and I'll see you in the next one.